When it comes to NBA basketball, things being legal and things being honorable are two separate things completely. With the NBA salary cap, teams are allowed to recruit as much talent as possible as long as their contracts fit within the parameters of the league's rules. But the thing is, that's what's legal. There's still this unwritten rule. This general concept that there needs to be a competitive balance within the NBA. If a team gets really good and has multiple superstars, then good for them. But if they get too many stars, then they've broken the rules of fairness, and they often are not embraced by the basketball community. Today, we're looking at the top 8 signings/trades that seemed unfair to the basketball community. As always, this is not an objective list, just my opinions on how I would rank the list based on my knowledge of basketball history. So let me know in the comments section if you agree or disagree with these choices. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 8. Bill Walton to the Boston Celtics in 1985. Before acquiring Walton in the 1985 offseason, they had won the NBA championship in 1984, and then in 1985, they had a 63-19 record, which was literally the best record in the entire NBA. And in the playoffs, they went all the way to the NBA Finals before they were eventually eliminated in 6 games by their rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. Even with that being said, it was still widely believed that the Boston Celtics might be good enough to win in 1986, as they had a 3-headed monster of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish to go along with their deep supporting cast, with quality players like Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, and Cedric Maxwell. It just wasn't their year, but they had all the necessary pieces in order to win an NBA championship. With that being said, they looked to get better that offseason, and after having issues with their former Finals MVP winner Cedric Maxwell, who allegedly quit on the team during the 1985 playoffs, they decided to trade him to the Los Angeles Clippers for one of the greatest big men in the history of the game, Bill Walton. At this time, the Celtics didn't even need a center, as Robert Parrish was an all-star caliber player in his own right. Yes, Walton had taken a significant step backwards in recent years due to his various injuries. But even with that being the case, he was still one of the best bigs that the game had to offer. And coming off the bench, he was their 6th Man of the Year winner in 1986. And it came as no surprise that they went on to win the NBA championship that year, solidifying themselves as one of the greatest teams in NBA history. Number 7. Dwight Howard to the Los Angeles Lakers in 2012. You see, the NBA was at a really sensitive and volatile time, as the Miami Heat had just recently assembled a Big Three, where they acquired 3 of the best players in the Eastern Conference all in their 20s. Now, the Lakers were building their own super team, as they had won a championship as recently as 2010, and their roster was bolstering Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, Ron Artest, Pau Gasol, and now Dwight Howard. Many people prior to this season starting were predicting this team to win as many as 73 games, breaking the Bulls' 72-10 record of the 95-96 season. Many analysts and fans throughout the community were saying that this was extremely unfair, and the league was quickly being ruined by the emergence of super teams. The reality is, this team severely lacked chemistry and dealt with a multitude of injuries that didn't allow the season to turn out like anyone expected, as they struggled just to make the playoffs, and as Kobe tore his Achilles right before the playoffs began, resulting in them quickly being swept by the San Antonio Spurs out of the first round. Number 6. The Boston Celtics acquiring Kevin Garnett in the summer of 2007. The Boston Celtics were not that great of a team the year prior, but most of that was not a reflection of their actual roster, but it was a result of all the injuries they dealt with throughout that season, including injuries to their superstar scorer, Paul Pierce. Right around the 2007 NBA draft, they acquired one of the premier superstars and the best shooter in the game at the time, Ray Allen, via trade. That alone was enough to make them a formidable and possibly even a contender in the Eastern Conference. But then they shook the basketball world by trading for Kevin Garnett from the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had won the league's MVP award as recently as 2004. and he was a power forward who was in the argument for the title of the best defensive player in the entire league. Many people, including yours truly, predicted the Celtics to win the NBA championship in the Big Three's first year together. And what ensued was the greatest season-to-season turnaround in NBA history, as the Celtics went from a 24-win team to a 66-win team in 2008. And they went all the way to the NBA Finals, where they eliminated the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games, winning their first NBA championship in over 20 seasons. Number 5. Wilt Chamberlain to the Los Angeles Lakers in the summer of 1968. The Lakers were widely seen as the best team out west, as they were making it to the NBA Finals time and time again, led by their superstar tandem of Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, who are not just fantastic players, but 2 of the greatest players in NBA history. In the 67-68 season, they had a 52-30 record and made it all the way to the NBA Finals, where they lost in 6 games to the Boston Celtics. And then they were adding Bill Russell's rival, Wilt Chamberlain. And obviously, much of the basketball community then immediately assumed that this was the era of the Los Angeles Lakers, as they were quickly predicted to be the 1969 NBA champions. And many people were calling this three-headed monster the first super team within the NBA. Although the Lakers would go on to win 55 games in the 1969 regular season, and they did go on to the NBA Finals to get their rematch with the Boston Celtics, the Celtics still prevailed in the 7th game, thanks to an injury to Wilt Chamberlain's knee and thanks to a clutch performance from Bill Russell in his final season as an NBA player. Although that Lakers team was widely seen as a super team, they didn't actually end up winning their championship until their historic 1971-1972 season, where they won an NBA record 33 straight regular season games. Number 4. Moses Malone to the Philadelphia 76ers in the summer of 1982. At that point in time, Moses Malone was clearly the best player in the NBA, as he had just won the MVP award for the Houston Rockets in 1982, and he had just made it to the NBA Finals the year prior. But the team he was joining was the 58-24 Philadelphia 76ers, who had made it all the way to the NBA Finals, where they lost in 6 games to the Los Angeles Lakers. This 76ers team already had all the necessary pieces to win an NBA championship, with quality star players like Julius Erving, Maurice Cheeks, and the all-time great defensive player Bobby Jones. Moses joining this team made them feel immediately overpowered, as it was one MVP player joining another. And you can guess what happened next. The 1983 Philadelphia 76ers went on to win 65 regular season games, and in the NBA playoffs, it didn't even look fair, as they swept the New York Knicks, gentlemen swept the Milwaukee Bucks, and then swept the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers in 4 games. Number 3. LeBron James to the Miami Heat in the summer of 2010. He was the reigning league MVP, and he just joined the 2 other best MVP vote getters out of his conference, as LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh all joined forces on Miami, sacrificing some of their salaries as they formed a terrifying 3-headed monster, all before they had reached the age of 30. Not only was this team extremely strong up top, but it was also an addition by subtraction, as the 3 of them joining in Miami meant that 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference were now irrelevant when playoff time came around. Miami went on to make the NBA Finals in the next 4 seasons straight, winning 2 championships in 2012 and in 2013. Number 2. Gary Payton and Karl Malone joining the Los Angeles Lakers in the summer of 2003. Although they were reaching the twilight of their careers, and although they were certainly ring chasing, Payton and Malone were still 2 franchise-leading stars in their own right, as they were both the leading scorers of their team before joining the Lakers. This Laker team that they were joining had just won 3 of the last 4 NBA championships, and it had a 50-32 record before they were eventually eliminated in the second round by the eventual 2003 champion, the San Antonio Spurs. On paper, this was one of the most terrifying starting lineups in NBA history, as these guys were not only 4 great players between Shaq, Kobe, Payton, and Malone, but they're 4 of the greatest players in NBA history. And once again, you all know what happened. Famously, they made it all the way to the 2004 NBA Finals, before they were embarrassed on the game's biggest stage, losing in 5 games to the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons were quite possibly the greatest defensive team in NBA history, but the Lakers were not at full strength, as Kobe's mind was distracted as he had just got through the Colorado trials, and Karl Malone re-injured himself, causing him to miss much of the NBA Finals. Regardless of how you spin it, this was one of the most disappointing seasons in NBA history for a team that looked extremely unfair when they originally formed. Number 1. Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors in the summer of 2016. Was there ever any doubt on what the number 1 pick was? As a recent MVP winner, was joining the first unanimous MVP winner in NBA history on the Golden State Warriors, a team that had just set an NBA record by winning 73 regular season games. And the Warriors were overwhelming favorites to win the NBA championship, as many people were predicting them to be crowned as the new greatest team in NBA history. But after taking a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals over LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they blew the next 3 games straight, losing Game 7 by just 4 points. Adding Kevin Durant made them, in my opinion, the greatest title favorites in NBA history, and the outcome was extremely predictable, as they stormed through the 2017 NBA playoffs, losing only 1 game. And then they repeated as champion, winning the 2018 finals as well. This team wasn't just great, but many people believe that they made the NBA boring for a few years, making them easily my top choice for this list. So what do you guys think? What is a signing or trade that seemed extremely unfair when it went down? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.